The San Francisco 49ers are going to kick ass and take names this season, and it all starts with head coach Kyle Shanahan.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Niners Now podcast. I am your host, Beto. My co-host, Jess. She is on her way to the Bay Area. She is going to the NFC Championship game on Sunday. So I have someone stepping in for her tonight. So Jess normally does the show with me on Friday nights, but she is making her plans to go to the game on Sunday. So I have a great co-host with me tonight that is going to keep us talking 49er Lions game. We're going to talk a little bit about what we need to do to win the game. What things should we be concerned about? Is there anything to be concerned about? Those are the topics we're going to bring up. With no further ado, let's give a hand of applause for our special guest, Miss Melissa. What's up, Melissa?
Hi, everybody.
Everyone, welcome. Let's see here. Make sure to wipe your feet before entering and smash that like button for your boy, Niner Beto. Would appreciate that very, very much. Before we start, Melissa, let's go ahead and say hello to the gang in the chat. Let's see here. We got Daniel Burry Sports Highlights. He says, yo, what's up, brother? We got Jimmy Perez in the house. What's up, Jimmy? Welcome. We got Miss Jet Shao in the house. What's up, girl? We got Royalty. Let's go, Beto and Jess. It's Beto and Melissa tonight, but Jess is my co-host. She's on her way to the game. She's going to be reporting live from the NFC Championship game. We got feet on the ground. That's how we do it here on the Niners Now podcast. What's up, Luis Moreno? Let's see who else we got. We got CarCast in the house. What's up,
Hey,
CarCast? Let's see here. We got Tommy Huxley. Yep, Tommy's already going at it. We got Christian Carver in the house. What's up, Christian? We got our famous lady of the purple and yellow Vikings. She's always supporting my channel as a Vikings fan. She's a wonderful person. How you doing, Mary? We got Royalty in the house. Sorry about your Vikings this year. Hopefully you guys can get your stuff together and have a better season in 2024. We got Brad Lodge in the house.
Hey, Brad.
How you doing, Brad? All right. Those are everyone. Let's see here. Let's get back here. So, Melissa, before we start talking a little bit about the Detroit Lions, I want to get your take on what happened last week against the Packers. At what point were you nervous? Were you nervous? Were you at the edge of your TV? At some point, did you think, oh, crap, this could be our season? Or did you, like many others, had that faith that, like, nope, no matter how bad we look, we got this?
Okay, so I had faith we were to win. I thought it was going to be a close game. I called 24-14 because I knew it was going to be a rain game. And the Packers, for all their faults and the immense hate I have for them, they play harder for Jordan Love than they've ever played for Aaron Rodgers in recent memory. Um, and so I knew it was going to be a dogfight. What made me nervous was that my brother was like one floor away from me, and he's a cheesehead, and he was watching the whole game, and he's like really loud and boisterous, and he's kind of feeling himself, and it felt like they couldn't get anything on offense going. Like there's just a lot of miscues, a lot of missed opportunities, and so I got nervous. But what helped was the Drake Greenlaw interception, the first one. I felt like that was kind of the spark. And then Jake Moody made the 52-yarder. And then they had the touchdown, which broke it away. And then Drake Greenlaw finished the game. And just like, I wasn't exactly like doubtful the way a lot of people were, but I did get nervous because this is a really important rivalry for me. And I knew my brother would drive me crazy if we lost this game. So I did get nervous. But at the same time, like, I think they needed an ugly one, especially in the rain.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. They had victories where they blew people out of the water. They have losses that came close to a victory. What they haven't had is adversity hit this hard, trying to come back from behind. And all games are meaningful games during the season, but there's nothing like playoff, games that you win, you move on, you lose, you're out, and your season is done. Your margin for error is that much smaller. And for Brock Purdy to have one of his bad games and still manage to pull up a drive in the last series to win the game and come back was amazing. Russ, to me, showed and its ugly head presented itself. People always want to say it ain't nothing about Russ. It's just rest. No, Russ is the real thing. Steve Young has talked about it. Other athletes have talked about it. Brock Purdy, especially Brock Purdy. Lamar Jackson is a different type of quarterback. He's more dependent on his legs than Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's more anticipation. He wants to make sure he's on the same page with his receivers. Timing is a huge thing for Brock Purdy. So those are the things that I felt that he was missing for 2 weeks and not playing to the third week because he didn't play week 18. Then he had the bye week. A lot of that ugly rust presented itself. The rain wasn't any help either, but I don't think the rain was an issue. People want to say that his hands are too small. He has the same size hands as Patrick Mahomes. So his hands are not small. Go ahead. You want to add to that?
I agree and I disagree. So where I agree is I think Brock Purdy, his safety net isn't so much a player. It's the same safety net that Tua has. They're very dynamic and they're very dangerous when they have their timing and everything's comfortable. And when that's threatened and when they have expectations on top of being threatened, they kind of get in their head and they get sloppy and they make poor decisions and they try playing hero ball. So I think it was a really huge thing for our quarterback to have that in the playoffs and still pull it together and still make a unbelievable drive that pulled off the game. But what really impressed me the most were my babies. They all shined, but every one of them, all three of them got to shine in this game, and that made me so happy. Deommodore Lenoir, Drake Greenlaw, and especially my baby Joanne Jennings. They all shined in this game, and that made me so, so happy.
Yeah, they definitely need it. All of the players you mentioned, but Joanne Jennings definitely was needed. Once Debo went down, the absence of Debo was felt immediately on that offense, the way the play calls was called going forward. But the presence of Juwan blankety blank Jennings. I don't cuss, so I always say Juwan Jennings.
His name is Clutch King. It's not the
Clutch King.
MF that everyone likes to use.
Okay,
It's
that's
Clutch
what I've been
King.
hearing the last couple of days. So, Clutch King sounds. I can pronounce it. That's even better for me. But what he was able to do, man, come in and really step up. One of them, he had to climb the ladder to get one of those passes thrown to him. He's been superb. He's filled in. But you know what? As much as I love Jennings, and I do, I've always advocated for, not as much as you. I'm not going to take no credit from you. Okay? I'm not even going to believe that I'm in the same atmosphere
At least you're
as
one of
you.
the few people who admit that I've been fighting for him for years.
Yes, you have. But I'm glad that Deebo Samuel was cleared and not on the injury list. How effective, we'll see how he plays out. But just the fact that we know that we have Jennings there is going to be interesting. As a, if you want to have a security blanket in case anything, Deebo can't go or Deebo reactivates or Deebo whatever, just the fact that we have Jennings there gives me great confidence that we can move the ball against the Detroit defense and score at will, especially if it's a nice sunny day. Listen, Brock Purdy, I want to get your opinion because I know you defend like the Juwan Jennings of the world, and Brock Purdy, no matter what he does, good or bad, he has so much hate and slander. It's ridiculous. It's like, what happened to the underdog story? What happened to, the whole let's root for the underdog to make it, to be successful? It seems like the whole world, other than Northern California, is rooting for the Lions. And I understand the Lions haven't been there for 30 years. I know that Detroit fan base has been hungry for so many years without a playoff game. Now they're one game away from the Super Bowl. So I understand all that, their excitement. But what Brock Purdy has received from so-called experts, the Nick Wrights of the world, it's just ridiculous.
Nick
I
Wright
want to
is
get your
not.
thoughts.
Nick Wright, by the way, is not a professional person.
No, he's a huge
glorified.
Chiefs fan.
He's a glorified troll that works on FS1, which is, by the way, the biggest joke network ever. But there's a whole other story that I can go off on. No, what upsets me the most about the Brock Purdy slander this week is it feels like it's beyond personal. Like they're not bringing up his fiance, they're not bringing up his off the field stuff the way they used to at the beginning of the year. You know how they were making fun of him for having a roommate, for the way he dressed. There were always those backhanded like slap comments about how he looked more like a kid that was going to run across the quad because he was late for astronomy class or something like that. Like, we were used to that. We didn't like it, but it was like, okay, well, just it is what it is, right? But now it's so personal and it's so egregious and it's so hateful, and it's just like when Ryan Clark comes onto TV and he says the hardest thing he's ever done, and this is a man who's dedicated his life to the sport, who played the sport, who got multi-organ damage, and says that was the hardest thing he ever had to do was pretend that Brock ever deserved to be in the conversation to be MVP. That just says that there's this agenda against the Niners and Brock Purdy specifically. And I don't know if it's that whole, people have always had that conspiracy that Jerry Jones has owned the airwaves and he has this hatred for the Niners and he bought all the networks so they spin his stuff, or it's just the fact that they want Patrick Mahomes to have back-to-back Super Bowls, or they want Lamar Jackson to have his first Super Bowl, or they want that, prototypical 6'4", 250-pound guy. And the Niners, I feel like they're not going to shut people up in general until they do the Andy Reid, which is finally get the ring and then be like, You all can still doubt me and hate me all you want, but at least I have the ring now, so you have to at least back off a little bit. Because remember, going into that Super Bowl against the Niners, Andy Reid was called, oh, he's the greatest coach there is, but, and there will always be the but, that he can't win the big game. And you kind of hear it the last couple of years about Kyle Shanahan and how people get like a little offended if you even bring him up for Coach of the Year. I feel like that's where we're at now. Nobody wants to support us outside of our fan base. We're the villains who always get like thrown back in Arkham Asylum. Like, we're not gonna have the proper respect until they can't just keep throwing every loss in our face. And that's what they've been doing to Brock Purdy for most of the year. They brought up the 3-game skid, right? And anytime he even struggled a little bit, they would always remind, you remember that 3-game skid? He looked really bad. If you take away his Debo or you take away his Trent, he really can't do anything. And then they bring up the Ravens game with all the interceptions, and it's just like every single time there's something, and I don't think it's going to go away until they get that ring.
Yep, I agree. Real quick, let me go ahead and bring up a super chat. We got a super chat. Let's take care of our super chat. Give me a second. Where is it? Right there. Get back to the rest of the super chats. Crazy Tommy, I'm telling you.
I love Tommy Huxley.
Yes, he is funny indeed. David Corona, welcome to the channel, my friend. Welcome to the channel. He says, what's up, everyone? Niners all day, every day. We got Dotson in the house. Why aren't you leaving? Hold on. Something's going on here. Hold on. What is going? Okay, what do I have here? Give me 1 second. Okay, so for some reason, David wants to be the star of the show, doesn't want to leave. All right, here we go. We got Don in the house. We got Royalty. How you doing, Don? Welcome. Say hi to Jayla and Ariel. If you're watching, hello. Welcome to the show. Let's see here. McNiner saying hi, talking to each other. We got John in the house. What's up, John? Welcome to the show. It says hello, Beto and Melissa. We got a Facebook user. Unfortunately, he's not showing me your name. Niner Sickness. What's up, bro? Hope all is well. Hello, Jess. Good evening to you. Welcome. Please make your way over to YouTube. They will identify your name or put your name at the end of your comments so that I can properly address who you are, but welcome. I think I mentioned. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm not Jess. She's traveling right now to go to the championship game, but I am from Jersey, and I do live with Brother Beto, so he still has a Jersey girl on tonight. If it makes you feel any better.
Actually, you know what? I forgot that you're from Jersey. I love the way you put that. You put that very, very well. I'm keeping it in Jersey. So I'm substituting one Jersey girl for another. I like that. We got Crazy Guy, Mr. Dallas Cowboys fan. Boom. Hi. In the house. No, what's up, brother? He says, one pride. Of course, one pride. You know, it's funny that you have to go for the opposite team playing the Niners when you can never root for your team in the NFC Championship because they haven't been there in how long?
No, you know what I think that is? I think they feel guilty because they knew they robbed the Lions out of the 2 seed because they got away with one in that Dallas game at home.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, I got some people popped in. Hold on real
That's
quick.
guilty conscience.
It sure is. What's up, Alex Guerrero Molina in the house? Welcome, sir. And then Luis Moreno says, even if Purdy gets a ring, they'll never give him the credit. It will always be because of Shani, the defense, or something else. Yeah, if he would have been a number one pick, this conversation and narratives would have been completely different. It's sad just because you got drafted where you got drafted, which is out of your control, that people can't give you the credit you deserve. It took Tom Brady, excuse me. I'm mixing names there. Tom Brady, I think 3 Super Bowls to finally get the acknowledgement that he deserved.
No,
Coming from a 6th round.
Okay, I can't stand the GOAT talk for Brady, but I feel like a lot of people gave him actual respect when he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and he won them a Super Bowl, and he did it away from Belichick. And he did it that first year away from Belichick.
But he did his wife dirty, though. But we're not talking about that.
I did not go. You brought that up. I did not go there. But I feel like Brock Purdy, even if he wins the ring, right? I feel he's going to be Russell Wilson right before he went to the Broncos, or a Drew Brees or Kurt Warner, where they're not really truly appreciated until they're gone. Because I feel like Brock is more like the old school pocket quarterback, right? Like he can scramble, but he's not really.
Yeah, he's not gifted with his
legs.
He's not a mobile quarterback. He's
not like the freak athlete. Like, and I'm not talking about like the dual running quarterback like Lamar, but like he's not a dual
he's
freak
not a
athlete
Steve
like a Josh Allen or a Patrick
Allen.
Mahomes, where they could do the no look passes and the 80-yard bombs. And I feel like that's also a thing with these networks. Like they want these sensational, like jaw-dropping, like highlight reels, like they're doing it like a top 10 best plays of the weekend thing for everything. And when Brock doesn't have what they are looking for, like those big explosive, like major, oh my god, could you believe he actually did that kind of plays? Like, and that's why I think that they also hate the Niners so much, because it's just the Niners aren't sexy to them. You know, they're not flash. They're substance, but they're not flash. And I think they love flash more than anything because it gives them more to talk about.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's all about clicks, Melissa. You know, we know it's about clicks. It's about followers. So, you know, it's going to be interesting going forward. Brock, his faith is in God. His faith is not in football. His vision is not on what people are saying about him. He believes in himself. He knows who he is as a man, and he's confident with his ability. And I love that about the young man. For being 24, he's very mature beyond his years, and he's showing that the players love him. I mean, the big silverback fell in love with him immediately. Trent Williams, when he came in against Miami last year, who was there to support him right off the bat, the big silverback, and teams started to fall for him because of his character, his personality, and how much he puts effort into winning games. So Brock Purdy, listen, I know, and I'm not going to stay too much on the Trey Lance. I love Trey Lance as a human being. I don't know him personally, but I love the way he conducts himself. I do wish him the best. I hope he gets an opportunity somewhere, whether the Cowboys or somewhere else. It's a shame that injuries kind of messed up his career. But it's also funny. I was talking to my friend the other day, and we were saying that the same bad luck for Trey Lance due to injury was his demise, right? He lost his opportunity to show what he can do, but it was the same injuries that was a blessing for Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy was able to come in and show what he can do. Because let's keep it real. If Jimmy never gets hurt, we're not talking about Brock. We got no clue Unless you follow Brock in college, nobody knows Brock. Nobody knows what Brock can or can do. He wouldn't have been not even a thought.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you there because if certain people on Twitter, and people know who some of them are, hear that, they're going to come at you because they're going to come with you with their timestamped tweets, because there's a bunch of them
Oh, of
that said it
course.
like 2 years ago before the draft even happened. We should go look at this guy, Brock Purdy. It's the same people who did the thing when Trey Lance was picked over Justin Fields, and they kept saying, "Oh, look, we called this," and like those people exist. But I feel like the thing with I'm not going to get into the Trey thing because that's just going to get me upset. But I feel like the thing with Brock Purdy was, I think he made an impression on Trent, and he's talked about that recently in that first training camp. But I think what really stood out about Brock Purdy and what made him special to this team was that he took his job beyond seriously. And I don't think that happens for very many late round picks, let alone like a Mr. Irrelevant. I think because you remember he was doing scout team once Trey went down and he was the backup to Jimmy. And I remember those first couple weeks, I was rooting for Brock Purdy. Like, I came on your podcast, I came on a bunch of podcasts, and I said, I'd rather have Brock Purdy than Jimmy. And everyone's like, no, 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 you can't do that. If we were a Super Bowl ready team, we can't take a chance. And that's the whole argument. It was always about Trey Lance. You can't wait for them to develop, remember? They said the same thing about Brock Purdy. You can't put in the young kid because we know what we have with Jimmy, and Jimmy at least is good enough to get us there. And so I feel like Fred Warner was that first person that really came out and defended Brock Purdy. He kept talking about how electric he was. He talked about how he was really serious, how he would work really hard, stay afterwards, and redo all of the plays that Jimmy would do and that were on the play sheet after games. And he would ask guys like Brandon to stay behind with him and work certain things out. Or when he was doing the scout team, he would really dive into the other quarterback's type of style and do his damnedest to try to emulate that to help the defense prepare. And he didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't take it like I feel like a lot of people take the backup quarterback position. They think it's just an easy job that gets you money, that you get to get the ring if you're on the team. And he really sliced and diced that defense. I think that's the difference. I think Trey wasn't ready. He had those high expectations, and there was nothing he could do to live up to them. Kind of like Javon Kinlaw. Like, I think people love DeForest Buckner so much, and when the injuries started piling up and all the other stuff, like it was easy cannon fire to jump on the Grant Cohen bandwagon and just attack Javon Kinlaw. And I think sometimes it helps when you don't have those high expectations on your head. So like, to circle back to it, I think that's why this game was so impressive, because Brock was kind of like in his head about the rain and wiping his hands, and that's been like a big story this whole week. But at the end of the day, he shut everything out and he made the plays that he needed to make, whether it was pretty or not. And I think that's what's really remarkable about him. Like, I don't think anyone can take that away from him. And so that's what makes me so hyped about this game, because I feel like that's the thing that's going to be a huge deal. Branch and Joseph and Garner Johnson, they're all DBs for the Lions who like to pick off receivers. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, they're not the greatest pass defense. They're a better run defense. And they're saying, like, it's going to be easy to pick them apart. But these guys, what makes them tenacious and scary is that they live and breathe like their head coach. And so they pick people off. And if you overlook them, they make people pay. And I think that's what's going to make this matchup so much fun. And I've been dreaming about this matchup, Beto. I swear to you, for like 2 straight years, I would go on Jesse's channel, because Jesse has a Lions co-host, Rad.
Okay, that's right.
And
That's right.
I used to tell him, it's gonna be your year. You're gonna win the North, and it's gonna be the Niners and the Lions in the the championship game. And I think that's fun because now it's gonna be like strength on strength. And I think the Lions are the one team that a lot of people say that they don't want to face, but I think this is the necessary team for the Niners to play because I feel like things are fun and breezy and easy when they had these big blowout wins. So like we were at the beginning of the year, kind of taking advantage of the 30 points for every game. You remember that for a while there? It was
Mm-hmm.
always 30. And then the team would be like, "Oh, well, why aren't you celebrating?" And they would kind of pick apart what they did wrong, and then the bad games started happening. And then I feel like the Lions are that team that are going to test you, and they're going to be that team that if you survive them and if you play well against them, they're going to do more good for you than anything else because you kind of need that hard game going into a Super Bowl. And I feel like their offensive line will test our defensive line. And if this is any game is going to get you ready, this is the game where Nick Bosa and Chase Young and Armstead and the rest of them really have to step up after last week. I feel like this is the game where you prove that you're more than just Christian McCaffrey in running. This is the game where you prove that you are those elite receivers. This is the game that's going to test our DBs, whether it's an Ambry Thomas or Travarius Ward or, God help me, Logan Ryan. Like, there's just so much matchup for matchup, player versus player that to look forward to in this game. I'm beyond excited for this game to happen. Like, I'm counting down the days. I'm like, 2 more sleeps. Like, I almost want to watch like a Muppet Christmas Carol because they had that like 1 more sleep to Christmas thing, and this is my Christmas. Like, we're right here on the doorstep of another Super Bowl, and I'm so beyond excited for this one.
I'm with you. This game is going to, regardless of which way it goes. Listen. I've been a Niner fan. Then a lot of you weren't even born yet when I was a Niner fan.
You're
Following the
patient
Niners.
though. Like a lot of people aren't patient because they didn't get to
Well, they
live
haven't
through the high.
experienced the Super Bowl that I have. I understand that. I'm not taking that for granted. I understand that, like yourself
No,
and
no,
young.
I'm talking about like you got to see because you live in California, so you got to enjoy the build up to those Super Bowls. You get to live through the Super Bowl and the aftermath. And I feel like for a lot of the younger fans like myself, you don't get to really truly appreciate those Super Bowl runs specifically because you never got to watch the weeks, the build-ups, the Montana versus the Young stuff. You didn't get to watch all the nuance and the build-up and the payoff. And you can go back and watch those games, but it's not the same as
Yeah,
like
no
giving your
social media.
heart week in, week out, getting to love these players, fight with these players, go through the highs and the lows with these players. And I feel like a lot of us feel robbed that the people that we were so attached to, whether it was a Joe Staley or a Justin Smith or a Patrick Willis, um, a Navarro Bowman, Deshaun Goldson, Dante Whitner, whoever it was that you loved from those Fangio defenses or the offense, it broke your heart that so many of them had 3 huge broken years in a row and then they just all started retiring or getting injured or leaving the team. And it just, a lot of us feel like more than for ourselves, we want to see it for the players. So you want to see Trent Williams get that ring, to have that opportunity because he's never even played in one yet. And so I feel like if not now, when, and I really think
We
that this.
wanted to win a ring for Frank Gore, Frank the Tank Gore. Remember, an all-time rusher for the Niners. No, and I hear what you're saying, Melissa. I hear what you're saying. People wanted like Trent Williams. People wanted Joe Staley to get his ring, but it's some people get them, some people don't, and I hope the Niners have the opportunity to win this Sunday. go to the Super Bowl and take care of business? Absolutely. As a Niner fan, of course I want that sixth Lombardi trophy, but a lot of people, in my personal opinion, get confused on what a successful season is. I know I hear one of the things I hear a lot, and I want to get your thoughts in a minute, is Super Bowl or bust, Super Bowl or bust. And I disagree with that. I don't think that there's a Super Bowl or bust. I understand you fall short of your goal. I feel that you fall short of your goal and you don't accomplish what you set out to accomplish. I understand that completely. But if you are in a Super Bowl or at least made it to the NFC Championship, as devastating as it is, if they do lose and pain that we're in, it's still, to me, a very successful season. Unfortunately, you just came short to the ultimate goal that you put before yourself every season is to win a championship. But I don't think just because you don't go to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl, it's considered a bust season. How can it be a bust season if you're winning double-digit games and you made it to the big dance? I want to get your thoughts on that.
You're still gonna get me in trouble with this.
Not your emotions, but your thoughts. But I want to get you in trouble.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest because I love you.
No, be honest. That's why I have you on here, girl. I would have no other way. Even if you disagree with me, let you speak.
I don't think it's Super Bowl bust. Honestly. I know that like everybody want it. And you know, they keep switching from Take 6 to Quest for 6 to Revenge to whatever and all that nonsense that happens on social media. But I feel like there's been so much turmoil and turnover, right? We haven't been able to hold on to a DC. We just lost Adam Peters. Like everything keeps getting pilfered off, and yet they keep this level of success. You know, this level of competition. Let's be honest. Like there's like a lot of people who would beg to be in the Niners' shoes. You know, like a lot of people don't even get to the playoffs in their careers. And they could be Hall of Famers. There's a lot of people who don't even sniff a championship game. And so in that regard, it is successful. And how many people they can say in their first 2 years of a career that they even got to a championship game, that they brought a team full of veterans, hungry veterans, that feel like they've been robbed to a championship game and at least gave them a chance at the dance, right? And so in that regard, I feel like it is successful. But at the same time, I respect people who feel like it's Super Bowl and bust. But at the same time, I hold a grudge against those people because those are the same people who said you couldn't develop a Brock Purdy. Those are the same people who said you couldn't develop a Trey Lance because they keep saying it's a Super Bowl ready roster and you can't wait, you can't develop. And it's just like that is so cowboyish to me that makes me want to hurl. But like honestly, because you think about it, the young guys are kind of what makes this roster work. Like if you don't have an Aaron Banks, you're kind of screwed because Trent Williams has had ticky-tacky injuries, and if Aaron Banks doesn't hold that left side down, like you're in big trouble. If you don't have someone like a Talanoa Hufanga or Jair Brown now who stepped in for Hufanga, you're kind of screwed. If you don't have an Oren Burks or a Drake Greenlaw to fill in when things get kind of hairy and Fred can't do it all by himself in the middle, you kind of get screwed. Javon Kinlaw, who everyone gave up on, has stepped up huge this year. Like, these things matter. A Jawan Jennings, a Diamador Lenore, who was outside and then inside, and then who kind of got on a lot of people's bad side because, you know, he was the 5th round pick compared to the Ambry, who was a 3rd round pick. And you remember early in his career, Diamador Lenore had issues tackling, especially like big tight ends like a Tyler Higbee. And you remember Tyler Higbee kind of like rode him all the time, and a Greenlaw or a linebacker or a safety would have to come in and like help him tackle because he couldn't handle the big body tight ends. And now he's kind of like learned in and leaned into his body and learned how to take guys down by himself and clean up stuff that other people miss on bad tackling. And I feel like you need that balance. You need the balance of having hope and light, and but then also not being like a Debbie Downer and being like pissed off when things don't go perfectly. And I think that's what's the challenging thing is because like a lot of people feel like Kyle Shanahan is that he's really high when things go perfect, but then he can't let go of things when they don't go perfect. And so that's what made a lot of people crazy during the Green Bay game was because he was not letting go of all those Debo plays. You remember he tried lining up Jawan Jennings in the backfield, and I love Jawan Jennings, but to my heart, you can't do that with him. It's not going to work. He doesn't have that multiplicity, shifty, fast speed that makes those kind of plays work. Like those kind of things like are so head scratching. But at the end of the day, to get to the point, I don't think it's a bust, but I feel like people are getting exhausted with getting close and not happening. And that's what makes me worried because at the end of the day, you kind of hear it in the players' voices, and I don't feel like that's been a thing before. You hear George Kittle kind of get frustrated about how he's always been so close and he hasn't been back yet and how he wanted vengeance. You hear Brandon Ayuk get like a little snippy when he was asked, do you feel responsible for getting someone to like Trent Williams to a Super Bowl? And then Brandon claps back with, I've never even been to a Super Bowl. I'm doing this for me. And I feel like I don't want to be one of those teams where everything is so animosity and ticky tacky, and like the second things get hard, they're going to start turning on each other. And I feel like that's what makes this scary right now because I feel like it could go either way. It could stay good and they could keep fighting and being a family and things turn well, whether they win or not, or they can start going that down dangerous path the way hiring Tom Sula and getting rid of Fangio did as a head coach when the team said point blank they'd rather have Fangio than Tom Sula. And so I feel like the dangerous part is that you could easily become like the Buffalo Bills where you have a Stephon Diggs raising hell because he's not getting enough touches and things kind of get fractured when things are ugly. I feel like you could easily slip into Philly territory where everyone's kind of turning on each other and looking at the quarterback ugly like they were kind of with Jimmy at the end. And so that's what makes this a complicated issue. It's not like so easy, black and white, it's Super Bowl or bust. It's just a lot of ugly gray that nobody wants to talk about.
Absolutely. Listen, we're getting close to the hour, and I told my wife that I can just be on here 1 hour because she wants me to continue doing errands that she's been having me do all day, and I don't want to get killed. So I want to ask you, Melissa, as my guest, Melissa, what position on the Niners against the Detroit Lions on Sunday worries you the most?
Right tackle, Aiden Hutchinson.
Okay, so
Right guard, Aiden Hutchinson.
so you think McKivitz is going
O-line
to
versus Aiden Hutchinson. It's not so much that I think they're going to struggle. I know Aiden Hutchinson is like a young Nick Bosa in the regard that it could seem like he's not doing very much all game long. And then out of nowhere, he has that one big turnover or that one really big important sack that completely swings the momentum. And once the team starts feeding on Aiden Hutchinson, I mean, they become super dangerous. And you could kind of see it in all those games. And so that's what is the worry one for me more than anything. 'Cause I trust my receivers, and I know Jawan Jennings, and I know that as dynamic and how good their DBs are at picking routes off, our receivers get in people's heads. And I know it's demoralizing when you're a DB and you start feeling yourself and you're getting shoved all over the place by these receivers. And Brandon has stepped up into that game. And so if I had one matchup that really does worry me, it's Aiden Hutchinson versus our O line. Because I feel like they're not as bad as people portray them, but then they also had that game last year where I have that bad flashback where Hassan Reddick is just running wide open and our quarterback gets injured, and that's what Aiden Hutchinson is. He's like that Nick Bosa at the beginning of his career, where Nick didn't always have those big sacks, but he was a game wrecker, and you felt that pressure, and it just took one bad mojo call, and it was good night. And that's the matchup that worries me.
And that's a very, very good point, Melissa, that you're making. They should be concerned on him. He's just a one-man wrecking crew, although he's very good, like you stated. It is to be concerned, but he's just one guy. If they had 2 or 3 of those guys on that defense, I would be worried a little bit more. I'll be honest with you. My concern going into this game is our defense. My defense concerns me against the run defense. They're bringing in not one, but 2 1,000 rushers, 1,000-yard rushers into this game. If they can continue to run and keep that defense on that field gassed, it's going to be troublesome. I want this defense to step up. I need sure tackling. I know it's easier said than done. I need sure tackles. I need to focus. I know it was Armstead's first game back. This will be his second game, so he'll be a little bit more warmed up to that. But we need to focus, and I'm pretty sure they are focusing stopping the run, because the Lions do have a very good run game that sets up the play action. And this is what all the misdirections they like to do, Dan Campbell, and he will go for it more than any other coach on 4th downs with that run. So that's something the Niners need to really do and stop.
Okay, so Dan Campbell's not just 4th downs. Dan Campbell is a crazy man.
Yeah,
Can I say that in a loving
way? I
love
Dan Campbell.
Because
not Sunday.
Dan Campbell went for it near his own 30-yard line, deep in his own territory.
He takes risks.
He loves fake punts, and that's okay. So if I had one other matchup, it's our special teams versus his fake whatever he does on special teams, because that's always concerning. But I'm not concerned so much about our defense, and it might sound weird because a lot of people still feel like our defensive line hasn't stepped up or done their job. A lot of people still think that they haven't bought into Steve Wilkes, and those are all valid concerns. But I'm reminded of the Miami game last year. It was last year. Yeah, it was Brock Purdy's first game. You remember that the main concern was that Tyreek Hill was going to run all over us? They kept talking about how he's the fastest human being in the NFL. And then, of course, he has that one big run to begin the game. They had that touchdown, and then they clamped down. Remember?
Yep.
And then you had Jay Greenlaw all over Gesicki and Tyreek Hill, and then people kept saying, Jay Greenlaw's going to be a problem because he's going to do some stupid play on the sideline. And he was just there to really remind people, like, yeah, you're fast, but I'm physical. And I think in that regard, I'm not so concerned, but I'm not saying that's not a valid concern to have. I feel like when the defense gets threatened with speed, they usually come in with physicality, and that kind of like takes it to the speed. And the difference, I think, in this game is that Montgomery is hungry. He was a Bear for a really long time. You know, he just had this like big monkey taken off his back. You remember his first comments when he beat the Packers for the first time this year?
No, I
He
didn't.
said, I can go home and tell my son I finally beat the Packers. And I think that is what the one thing that people aren't talking about, that these guys, they're just as hungry as our guys. And that's what's going to make this such a fun championship game.
Yeah, it's definitely going to make it fun. Real quick before we shut it down, Crazy Guy is doing his thing, which I love. And you got brand new a Lions fan in here. Welcome to the chat. Listen, just as trolls, listen, I can understand brand new in here repping his team. His team is in the NFC Championship for the first time in over 30 years. He's a proud fan. He has an opportunity, just like we have an opportunity to make it to the Super Bowl on Sunday. So I can understand him saying what he's saying. But Crazy Guy, who is a Cowboy fan, I don't even understand your argument of trying to troll when your team does what it does best. One and dones. They got lucky last year. They won. They beat a aging Tom Brady, and they got killed by the Niners. So I love that you're talking your smack. Go for it. But listen, bro, I can understand brand new doing this thing. He's a Lions fan. Go for it. But Crazy Guy, come on. Your team has been dead, and you guys kept McCarthy. That right there should be painful enough for your team. But Melissa, you have been an amazing guest. For those that don't know, came in late, this is Melissa. This is not Jess, my normal co-host on Friday nights. She's from Jersey. She's flying out to Santa Clara to be at the game on Sunday, NFC Championship game. So I had another, while he put by Melissa, I got another Jersey girl on here to keep us company on this Friday night. Melissa, you did an amazing job. I love all your points. I have to have you on more often on my shows and just talk 49er football.
Like, how special is this? I got to hang out with my brother. That's been a really long time since I got to co-host with you. I think the last time was when me and David from Real Talk, Niner Talk. Super Dave.
That's right.
And by the way, Tommy Huxley is not what y'all are making him out to be.
No,
yes,
he's an awesome guy
and stuff, but he's not this little thing that's gonna fall apart just because y'all are taking it to him. And that's one of the things I love about Tommy, is that he has like the most beautiful, loving heart. But if you come at him, he will take you down, and he will not
he can play
quit.
the guitar like a mad boy.
And he will not be offended by any awful words you throw his way. And so, Tommy, I love you. Have fun taking it to the haters, because I don't worry about you. And y'all are lucky that I'm not in the chat right now, because I want to like look Beto in the eye through the camera, and I'm not like constantly in my phone typing, because I swear to you, I would be defending Tommy even though he wouldn't need it, because that's just the beautiful, genuine human being he is. Same with Beto. Like, Beto won't like block you and get offended that you're trolling in his chat, but he'll call out the people who go way too far, and that's one of the things I love most about you. So
yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, you have to either be racist, which would never ever be tolerated, and you would have to disrespect someone personally, which will never be tolerated. Now, the race automatically, you become racist, say racist remark, you're gone. I don't want to even hear an explanation. But if you're rude to someone in here, and then you have the dignity to say, you know what, I was wrong, I apologize, I still wouldn't block you on that condition. But yeah, I'm from the East Side. I had thick skin. And plus, my wife made me into the man that I am today. Because if anybody I'm afraid of, is her, nobody else. I'd rather go and fight a gang or fight pit bulls, not my wife.
This is not me laughing at him. It's just me laughing because I love Renee, and I love Beto and Renee's
She's crazy.
dynamic, so
she pulled a knife on me one time.
Not me laughing.
She ain't no joke.
Don't think I'm laughing at him. I'm laughing because I
But
love Beto and I love his wife, and I love their dynamic.
if you want to see me live in the next couple of days, I'm going to shut this down because if she opens that door, I poop my pants. Anyway,
I'd be
Melissa,
worried about
then I'm going to need Tommy to come and help me so I can hide behind Tommy. Melissa, thank you for being a great guest, stepping in for my girl Jess. Jess, if you're watching this on a replay, love you, girl. Missed you. Have fun at the game. Do your thing. Represent.
And please go follow Jess on East Coast Red and Gold.
Yes.
They are awesome.
She comes on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. So make sure to follow her and her crew.
You need Pacific time because they are East Coasters and he's a West Coaster.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I can keep this going, and I don't want to get in trouble. Everyone have a wonderful night. Be blessed. God bless, and take care. And go Niners.
Good night.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.